UFC Fight Night Seattle, Washington just took place. Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong. And it had the most amazing set of prelims ever. All finishes. It might have been the best prelims in UFC history. But it was a letdown from thereafter. The main event was a letdown. I guess now you can, if you want to win a fight, all you have to do is poke your opponent in the eye. Like, if you're winning, if you feel like you're winning and you have 2 rounds left and you're like, you know what, I'm already winning. Like, I don't want to jeopardize this victory that I seem to be having. Let the fight just be over. Then just poke your opponent in the eye, and be done with the night. But I'll get to that later. So let's start with the first fight, which was Modestas Bukauskas versus Rafael Sequeira. And man, I guess all those rounds with working with Tomas Spinal have paid off because, and I guess some of his knockout power, Tomas Spinal's knockout power must have rubbed off on Modestas Bukauskas because he knocked out Rafael out cold. He just stiff on the floor. And what can I say? Like, Rafael was knocked out in his previous fight, but it wasn't like this. It was like a standing knockout, like a standing TKO by Ibo Aslan. So he got knocked out this way, but this time he got properly knocked out. Amazing victory by Modestas Bukauskas. Then we had Nazultov Ruzibayev versus Eric McConnico. While the UFC was introducing this fight, while the commentators Michael Bisping and them lot were introducing it, it sounded to me that they were being very passive aggressive towards Eric McConnico. It's like they were saying, oh, it's Eric McConnico's big moment. He's doing it to impress his daughter. Like he said, he's going to bring a picture of himself with his hands raised. And, oh, it's a big moment for Eric McConnico. He's looking to make a happy entrance. And the way they were saying it, it's like they're like, oh man, this guy's gonna get knocked out in the first 30 seconds. It seems like they were doing it as a joke the way they were doing it, but he didn't get knocked out in the first 30 seconds because he survived the first round. And he was careful on the feet, very careful and cautious in the first round. But at the beginning of the second round, Michael Bisping was saying, and even Eric McConnico's corner was saying, hey, here's what you've got to do. You've got to throw caution to the wind and start throwing hands. You've got to risk it. And I don't think he should have listened to his corner because Nazultov Ruzibayev came in with a brutal knockout. After that, we had a brutal knockout by Nazultov Ruzibayev in the second round, and he had one of the longest post-fight speeches. After that, we had Nikolai Vereteniko versus Austin Vanderford, otherwise known as Paige Van Dam's or Jean-Claude Van Damme's husband. No, Paige Van Sant's husband. But this time, he separated himself from his wife and made a name for himself because he had a really good performance and got the win. He got a TKO victory in the second round with ground and pound. Was it in the second round? No, and great victory to him. He looked good. After that, we had Ricky Simon versus Javid Basharat. So, this fight, man. At the beginning, like the first round, both of them had their good moments. Like, Ricky Simon was taking down Javid Basharat a lot, but he wasn't doing much with it. Like, Basharat would have great takedown defense and get back on the feet all the time. And Michael Bisping would say, why is he always going for the takedown? Or he's not having much success. He should stand on the feet. But I thought it was because it was to get his opponent to worry about the ground game so that he can unleash the striking. And in the second round, Ricky Simon got the most brutal KO one of the most brutal KOs I've seen in the UFC. Basharat went down cold, and his eyes were like moving in circles. He was so out of it as he was on the floor. It was one of them ones like Usman Masvidal. I was going to say Mitchell, what do you call it? Bryce Mitchell versus Josh Emmett. But it wasn't that bad because he wasn't convulsing with shivering. But the way Basharat's eyes were moving and he was asking what was going on, it was crazy. So amazing KO. He used the jab to set up the right hand and got one of the most beautiful KOs I've seen. So that was the best moment of the night for me. After that, we had, and in the post-fight interview, he said he was using the takedowns to so that he does better on the feet, and I was glad he said that because that's what I was saying, and Bisping seemed to be blind to it, so I'm glad I noticed that. After that, we had Mansour Abdulmalik versus Nick Klein. Mansour was a heavy favorite because he's got them heavy hands, but Nick Klein landed a great spinning back fist in the first round, so he had that great moment. But in the second round, Mansour Abdulmalik had that amazing ground and pound. And as he was doing it, Nick Klein turned to the other side and then he ground and pounded the other side. And then he got the TKO victory. And that was in the second round. After that, we had Andre Fili versus Melkaze Costa. So at the beginning, I would say Andre Fili was getting the better of Costa. They were both having decent moments, but Andre Fili especially landed this one heavy shot that rocked Costa. But at some point, Andre Fili went for the takedown, and it was a bad move because Melkaze Costa, what's his name? Melkaze Costa got the submission victory, man, and it was amazing. And I guess Melkaze Costa must be like the most scruffy looking fighter I've seen in the UFC. Very scruffy looking. Purple hair, like a giant birthmark on his back. But still, he got the job done. After that, we have, this was a good one. Ion Cutelaba versus Ibo Aslan. Ibo Aslan was a heavy favorite. He had so many knockouts in most of his previous fights, and the one loss he had, he got the victory back. But man, Cutelaba, like this fight was touted as starting with fireworks, and sometimes fights don't go that way that are advertised as such, but this one did immediately. Both Ion and Ibo Aslan were throwing heavy hands, and Ion was missing quite a few, and Ibo landed one or two heavy ones, but Ion survived. But they were both throwing hands, and Ion got the takedown, and then Ibo had good takedown defense and survived. But then Ion took down Ibo again with a beautiful takedown and got the beautiful submission victory in the first round by triangle, and it was 2 minutes and 51 seconds. So he has 2 wins in a row now. Like MMA Guru said before the previous 2 Ion Cutelaba fights, he supported me and I like him because he was the first fighter to notice my channel and shout out my channel. But I'm going to have to pick against him. So Guru said that in the last 2 fights, and in both of those 2 fights, Cutelaba won. So that's pretty funny. After that, we have Alonzo Menifield versus Julius Walker. Yeah, this is the first. When this fight started, I had some anxiety because all the previous fights were finishes, and I wanted the finish streak to go on. I didn't want it to break, and I was hoping and wishing it would continue. And to be fair, both of them were throwing heavy hands, but I guess they weren't that heavy because they were too weak to knock each other out. So both of them were landing good heavy shots on each other, but I guess Alonso was landing a bit more often, and he got the unanimous decision victory. So that's where the downfall started. So all the previous fights were finishes, finish streak, and this is where. So after this fight, we had Jean Silva versus Malsik Bakhtasaryan. Man, Jean Silva has so much aura, man. The way he daps up his opponents, the way he feels so free in the octagon. And at first, the fight seemed like both of them were a little bit cautious, feeling each other out, landing like shots from far away, like it wasn't a close exchanges. And I was thinking to myself, man, all the previous fights were finishes. Like maybe apart from the Alonso Menifield one, maybe if that was a finish, they'd have more pressure to go for a finish. But now they won't have that pressure, and it's going to be lame. It would have been better if they had that pressure, so that they'd go for it more. But so it was cautious, and then Jean Silva landed one of the most beautiful. Was it right hand or left hand? But one of the most beautiful knockouts in the first round. Near the end of the first round, it was absolutely amazing. And he called out Bryce Mitchell for saying that pro World War II stuff. After that, it was Rob Font versus Jean Matsumoto. Jean Matsumoto is like a Japanese Brazilian. And Rob Font came in quick. He came in trying to catch Matsumoto off guard with how quick he started and with how fiery his start would be. Like he started throwing hands immediately. But Matsumoto survived that early onslaught. But over the course of the 3 rounds, Rob Font was just landing the heaviest shots more often, even if Matsumoto was durable and decent enough to hang with Font, but not decent enough to overtake him in strikes. And so Rob Font won. And then Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. Brendan Allen is like the anti-Sean Strickland, because Sean Strickland can wrestle, but he never does because I like to stand and bang. It's better that way. Whereas Brendan Allen says, "Oh, and a knockout can be by luck," and he always goes for taking his opponent to the ground. He always goes for a submission. He loves to scramble on the ground, and always goes for it, even if it's not to his best advantage. And with Anthony Hernandez, at the beginning of the first round, he was landing some good leg kicks, some good strikes, and then Anthony Hernandez took it to the ground. But even when Brendan Allen would scramble up and have success on the feet again, he would just randomly go for a takedown again, and then Anthony Hernandez would just out wrestle him. So that was, I guess, low fight IQ decisioning by Brendan Allen. And so over the course of the 3 rounds, Anthony Hernandez was just controlling Brendan Allen on the ground more, and he got the unanimous decision victory. And then Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong. Man, I hate that Song Yadong got the win after that eye poke. Like, it should be a no contest. Like, what the hell? And I thought Henry Cejudo was winning that fight anyway, even if the judges gave it 29-28 to Yadong and 130-27 to Yadong. But I thought Cejudo was winning. But even if Song Yadong was winning, because I thought Henry Cejudo was landing the heaviest shots, like especially near the end of the rounds, and he was pressuring more. And I don't know, that's the impression I have, that Cejudo was winning. But even if you think Song Yadong won, like, that's kind of wrong to even if you're winning, you shouldn't just get the victory after you eye poke someone in the freaking eye. Because it's like, oh, I'm winning. I don't need to fight the next 2 rounds. I'm just going to poke him in the eye and secure my victory. That's not right. That should be a no contest. And I'm really mad about that. And apparently, like, after the eye poke, Henry went to the corner. He rested for 5 minutes, but then when he went back to fight, he couldn't see anything. I mean, And so the round ended, and then he called for the eye doctor, and they ruled, and they said the fight is over. And apparently, if Henry, while Henry went to his corner the first time before the round ended, if he said, I can't see, or I need an eye doctor, he would have got the no contest. But because he went back in, for some reason, they gave the victory to Song Yadong, and that's not fair. Like, and people are going to say, oh, I'm going to make fun of Henry, calling him triple L and stuff. And that's not right, because you shouldn't just get away with an eye poke. You should get points deducted. This thing where referees are, no, I'm a lenient referee. I don't want to ruin the fun by taking points off an eye poke, because that's ruining the fun. You're supposed to let things happen. No, you can't freaking eye poke. Take points of the person who eye pokes, because that's freaking cheating. But good on Song Yadong for asking the fight back. But he shouldn't even get the win. It should have been a no contest 100%. Maybe not even a no contest, maybe a win for Henry. But overall, the prelims were amazing. The main card, the Jean Silva is looking like a top guy, full of aura. So that's exciting. And I'm looking forward to what he's going to do next. Like and subscribe.